And the topic that I'm going to be discussing is the March of the 100,000, which was an event that took place in Brazil. So initially, this march took place on the 26th of January, sorry, 26th of June in 1968 in Rio de Janeiro. But to really understand why it took place, what was the reason, and what was the impact, it's better if we go it's better if you understand the historical context. So it actually starts 4 years ago in 1964. At this point, Brazil was under much pressure due to increasing tension between the different political sides in the country. So the democratically elected president, the gentleman on the left, um, was being pressured by the military to really form a military government rather than a democratic one. So eventually, in 1964, the do apologize. I don't know why the drilling started now, but in 1964, the military conspired to remove Goulart from office, and on April 1st, carried out a coup d'état in place of Goulart. The military appointed General Humberto Castelo Branco, and from that day onwards, Brazil's era of dictatorship began. So the ensuing dictatorship instituted a repression of free speech, through the prohibition of, say, public protests and assemblies. Any leftists as such who were uh, trying to trying to plot against the new government were arrested or exiled. And in order to prevent militants from grouping together in the first place, the military intervened in any institutions that might encourage them, that might encourage freedom of speech. So that included colleges and universities as such. These actions, rather than trying to subdue the movement or trying to subdue these voices, actually only provoke them and encourage them. So you saw more and more students taking part in events like this. As the military repression continued, officials became confident that they would maintain their control. On the March 27th, 1968, uh, during a students' demonstration, I'm sorry, this is March 28th now. Yeah, police killed an 18-year-old student, Edson Luis de Lima Soto, a student in secondary school, who was one of the students taking part in a student rally. So what happened is, when they found his body, uh, most students became outraged. The police had shot him in the heart, killing him immediately. Students at the funeral covered his body with the Brazilian flag and surrounded it with handwritten signs saying, here lies the body of a student killed by dictatorship." So the impact of this was that protests now increased in intensity. You saw more young women and men standing in the street, throwing heavy objects, rocks, and protesting in general against the police. The violence reached its peak on June 21st. The violence reached its peak on June 21st, known to Brazilians as Sexta-feira Sangrenta, Bloody Friday, or as it's known, Bloody Friday. During this clash, there were three killed, dozens were injured, and thousands were arrested. The event actually caused so much more anger and so much more turmoil within the country that, under public pressure, the military finally allowed peaceful protests with no police interference. The March of the People reaches 100,000, took place on the 26th of June. What happened is, on at around 2 p.m. In the evening, there were around 50,000 people taking part in the march. And exactly 1 hour later, according to most sources, another 50,000 people joined. So you had a total of 100,000 people, mostly students and from colleges and universities. This was one of the main movements and events which eventually led to the end of the era of dictatorship in Brazil, and the reinstitution of democracy and democratic practices. So the impact of this is, it shows that how powerful of a resource students are, the youth is in any country. We can see that even now. All around the world, you have seen that students are at the forefront of many of the uh, social movements, social gatherings, and play an important role in thinking both critically and trying to determine a future for whichever country they're in. Students not only are those who have a young mind, they see the world around them from a new perspective. They bring about new ideas, new challenges, and eventually lead to the progression of the country as a whole. So as a result of all of this, we've seen it year after year, even at present, and hopefully in the future. That's about it. Thank you.